Come alive. If it impacts on your health and your well-being, we'll definitely talk about it. Bring in the professionals, the practitioners. And that's what we're doing right now. So the 10th of May was World Lupus Day. So we'll do our part to raise awareness and make lupus visible. Actually, I'm supposed to be wearing purple, but a certain Dr. Jifade conspired and contrived not to get me the cloth, but I am in the company of Dr. Kobna Isilfi Kwe. He's a medical officer with the Bank Hospital here in Accra. The culprit herself, Dr. Jifade, rheumatologist, senior lecturer, University of Ghana Medical School, director of the Rheumatology Initiative, TRI. And of course, not forgetting Mami Trewa Ofosu Mensah, who is a warrior. I prefer survivor, but warrior also gives the right message. We're talking about lupus and hoping to raise awareness about this chronic autoimmune disorder, and that's why I've got them in the studio. If you've got any questions, concerns, experiences to share, WhatsApp is 055 11 11 997, and shortly I'll activate the phone line 030 221 6541. Ultimate Health on Joy 99.7 FM. You're most welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, I can't hear. Why am I not hearing you? Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're not sounding powerful. Wow. If at least I can confirm you're a mum. You should be more. Yeah.
I've been shouting at the boys.
You've been shouting at the boys.
Today is no shouting day.
No shouting day. Okay. Well, happy Mother's Day to you.
Thank you.
And welcome and thanks for joining us in the studio. World Lupus Day. Wow. All too soon, another 10th May. Right? And many people say, well, you guys are raising awareness again. And I want to start by asking you to explain why we can't do enough of the awareness, especially when it comes to lupus.
Every year, they still come up with the same facts that it's difficult. This year, the fact that that told me the most was that 55% of people, when they are diagnosed with lupus, haven't heard about it. And this is all over the world, in both industrial or developed countries, as well as undeveloped countries.
Slight technical hitch. We'll be back in a sec.
You know it's another OPK club.
Joy 99.7 FM. Joy 99.7 FM.
When the morning sun sweeps across my room as I waken from another dream of you, you be staring at me, giving me a kiss, say honey, play me a song, super melody, you be something who say, oh, baby, wait, you know me, you came along when I was nobody. Then show me how to only make me stronger. You give me the strength to accept the things I cannot change. Upo wa mi di ndietre, intentionality I mi different more. Baby I not here na ya true. Push me grind say go cry for. You came along when I was nobody, baby. Then show me how to be somebody. Oh, now here I she fell. I go die with you, give a bad boy. If you say, oh, yeah.
The best of my technical crew. It happens, yeah? All right, welcome back to Ultimate Health on Joy99.7 FM. We lost some good 16 minutes, but I'm with Dr. Jifade, rheumatologist, Dr. Kobna Esilfikwe, medical officer, Bank Hospital, and Mame Chirewa Ofosu Mensa, right? Yeah, we're talking about lupus. So, Jifade, before the technical break, I was trying to find out, why we need to keep on raising an awareness about lupus every year.
Thank you very much, Nortey. As I was saying earlier, every year the World Lupus Federation does a survey. Mm-hmm. This year, what was startling to me was in a survey that they did across the world, undeveloped countries, mostly developed countries, 55% of people who were diagnosed with lupus had not heard about it at the time they were diagnosed. Okay. So there's still a lot of
not a good
knowledge.
Surprise.
Exactly.
Wow.
3 to 4 years before most people get a diagnosis. And it's not only on the patient side. So that means on the doctor's side as well, it's difficult for them to recognize the disease. We call lupus the disease with 1,000 faces.
Right.
Because of the way it manifests.
The great imitator.
The great imitator.
Right.
So we need to keep highlighting the fact that it's there. If you have these symptoms, if you have these suspicions.
Okay.
Check whether this might be lupus. And you can only get to know or think about it if awareness is raised, so that it's always at the top front of people's minds,
okay,
both patients and doctors.
All right. Very well. But let's quickly, since we've lost some time, just explain to my listeners what lupus is.
So lupus is the short form of a longer word, systemic lupus erythematosus. Some call it SLE for short. So it's a chronic autoimmune condition, meaning you have it has to persist for more than 6 weeks for it to be chronic. And autoimmune meaning your immune system basically attacks itself. Okay. So instead of protecting you, the soldiers of the body now go and attack it because it thinks it's foreign due to some miscommunication, some mimicry of some of the antibodies that are supposed to be part of the body. Mm-hmm. The immune system sees it as foreign. And we say it's systemic because it can attack any organ in the body. So from the top of your head to the soles of your feet, as you say, any organ that the immune system has determined that is foreign to it, it will attack. And that's basically what lupus is. Okay.
Right. But let me come to you, Dr. Esilfikwe. Why or what would make the immune system misbehave, so to speak, in this way? Or what causes lupus?
All right. Thank you. And good afternoon to all the listeners. So lupus, like they say, we don't really know the cause of lupus. But then what we know is that there are so many factors can contribute to somebody getting lupus. So we call it multifactorial factors. Okay. And so one of them is a genetic predisposition. So some people have this, genetic predisposition to get lupus, mm-hmm, especially people who have first-degree relatives with lupus. So a mom or a sister or a brother who has lupus, you have this, genetic predisposition to also get lupus.
Okay.
Other environmental...
So it can run in families?
Yes.
So to speak?
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Also other environmental factors and even hormonal factors are also known to contribute. So for those who are predisposed, the scientists say that sunlight can even trigger it. Certain infections, such as Epstein-Barr virus, is a virus disease, infectious mononucleosis, can also contribute. Even sometimes, cow milk is known to also trigger in those who are predisposed. And even some hormonal factors can also trigger lupus in those who are predisposed.
Okay. Right. If you just joined us, 20 minutes past the hour of 2 on Joy 99.7 FM. The program is Ultimate Health,
Joy
your ultimate guide to healthy
99.7
living.
FM.
We're talking about lupus, and we're hoping to raise awareness and make lupus visible. We should be able to identify it. Having identified it, we should be able to properly and conclusively diagnose it, and then go into the range of management interventions available and accessible to those afflicted by lupus. If you have any concerns, questions, experiences you want to share, WhatsApp is 055 11 11 997. Joy FM. The program is Ultimate Health. Mami, let me come to you. Now, listening to Jifa and let me call him Kobe, right? Define it clinically, medically, and I'm looking at you and I'm looking for lupus, right? Is it because you are a warrior or a survivor that I don't believe that you are afflicted by lupus? I mean, tell a bit, as brief as you can, of how long you've known you've had this condition and what's it been like, especially with regard to the fact that they said you could be in the wilderness for a while before it's conclusively diagnosed. How's it been for you, Mami?
Thank you, Nortey, and a good afternoon to everyone listening. So, my journey started when I was working. So, right from growing up, nothing showed I had lupus. I was fine. University, I was fine. So, I started working. Then I realized that, no, I was gaining weight, which was not usual. Because I was a very skinny person. Okay. Skinnier than this. So
I bet who's trying to gain weight is not working. So why was that an uncomfortable sign or symptom for you?
It wasn't uncomfortable for me. I was enjoying it.
Okay. You were putting on weight?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I didn't like the fact that I was so skinny.
All right.
And so gaining weight was good for me. But those around me realized that no, there was more to it because it was abnormal.
Okay.
Why I say it's abnormal, because as I was gaining weight, I was getting swellings all over my face, leaving me with scars.
Wow.
Yes, so it comes in the form of ringworm. And then when it's going, you see that you are left with scars that need to be healed.
On your face?
Yes, on my cheeks, my nose area, eyebrow, those places.
Right.
And then at a point, my feet was also getting swollen.
Right.
Both ankle, from the knee downwards.
Okay.
Yes. So when you press, it goes down. So during that time, I started visiting the hospital. And then...
How old were you about then?
I should have been around 23, 24.
Okay. Right.
So...
you finished university, you were working?
Yes.
Okay.
So doctors suspected it was gout. And they were treating gout. Later, we are being told, no, it's not just gout. It has to do with the heart. It has to do with this. So it's as though it's moving from one area to the other. They couldn't really tell what it was. And I was also moving from one hospital to the other.
Okay.
Yes. So I think later, somewhere 2015, I'm not so sure, but somewhere 2015, I was fine. I report to work. And then I told my boss, I can't come to work. I need to go to the hospital. He asked, why? And I'm like, I'm not feeling so good. So I have to report to the hospital. He says, okay. I get to the hospital. The next call he gets is, she's been admitted. So he says, that's so unusual. The person I saw was fine.
Okay.
And getting to the hospital and being told she's been admitted. I stayed in the hospital for 2 weeks. Then I was fine. So they wanted to discharge me. Upon discharging me, I came home and rather I broke down. So I couldn't talk, I couldn't eat, nothing. It was unusual. My mom was of the view that if you've been to the hospital, you should be fine. So how come you are not? It's rather you coming back home worse. My boss comes to see me at home and he's like, no, this is more than what we think. So he recommends a hospital, which we go to. An ambulance comes to pick me from home because they couldn't send me and it was urgent. We go. And then for 2 months, I had to stay in the hospital. Not talking, not eating, just on drip. And I was blessed to have my mother stay with me. Normally they don't do that, but she had to stay with me throughout.
So now this is on a serious degree, serious
Yes,
level.
because I couldn't even take my bath. They have to clean me in bed.
Okay.
Doctors, a team of doctors come. They come look at you, and then some of them will tell my mother, this one, I think you need to pray, because we can't really tell what's going on with her. We've run a lot of tests. We've done MRIs, CT scans, and what have you, and we can't really tell what's going on.
Okay.
And then I was getting mouth ulcers as well. So they didn't know what was going on. Hair loss was happening at the same time. So things were just moving at a faster pace.
Wow.
At a point, whoever comes to see me is like, this one, dear, she won't make
You're getting
it.
mouth ulcers. Was there pain?
Yeah. You can't even swallow.
You can't swallow.
Yeah.
You can't take care of yourself. You can't observe your own personal hygiene.
No, you're stuck in
And
bed.
you're in hospital, you said 2 months?
2 months.
And
From
still-
January to February.
And the doctors themselves were asking for
Yeah.
prayer.
Yes.
Jifa, let me come to you. I mean, we know this labyrinth of trying to identify what is wrong with the person. We're talking about an autoimmune disorder.
Yeah.
So, why does it take so long? Is there a conclusive diagnostic regimen or tests that can tell us that this is lupus? I mean, listening to her,
Yeah.
this can be a frightening ordeal.
Experience, yes.
Is it that difficult to pin it down?
On hindsight, as she's talking, the signs are so obvious that this is lupus. But of course, hindsight is what 50-50 or 100%. But again, it alludes to what we talked about earlier.
Okay.
If the index of suspicion is not there, you wouldn't think of it. If the people had heard about lupus and saw mouth ulcers, hair loss, that should have come to them first. But this is around 2015, thereabouts, where people at that time still didn't think that we had these cases being so common in Ghana and so on.
Okay.
But because it mimics a lot of things, the swelling of her legs could have been a kidney problem.
Right.
It could have been the heart problem that they claimed it was, which it wasn't.
The
It could have.
rheumatoid arthritis.
It could be rheumatoid arthritis. It could be a liver problem.
Right.
And so you have to piece all the pieces together. Now, generally in autoimmune diseases, there are some systemic or constitutional symptoms that if they are persistent for too long, I say you should take note of. Unexplained weight loss.
Okay.
In her case, weight gain, which is
Right.
unusual.
Okay.
Persistent fever for more than 6 weeks. Sweating excessively at night. Then you have the joint pains coming in. If you're a young person and you have joint pains, stiffness of the joints early in the morning, which lasts for more than 30 minutes before you can freely move, that is not usual joint pain. That is something that has to be looked at further.
Right.
Then the other symptoms, because they are specific to the organs that are being affected. If you have anything in addition to those ones, then definitely have to look at it. If it's affecting the brain, they can give you a stroke. Strokes in young people is never usual.
Okay.
Paralysis, seizures, those are things that need to be looked at if they come with those other constitutional
Okay.
symptoms.
Right. My tech team tells me you can move back to business class, but not yet. not before I ask you. I mean, at what point should somebody experiencing these things be seeing a specialist on your level? Okay. Right. You're a rheumatologist, and this is your territory. Right. You have the VAR. Okay, for these things. But at what point? Because you be shopping, fishing from hospital facility, doctor to doctor.
So for us, our intent as what we do even at TRI is to make sure that even at the general practitioner level, they should be able to recognize the disease.
Okay.
They may not necessarily know how to treat it fully, but you should be able to recognize.
Okay.
A physician specialist is good enough.
Right.
Because we don't have enough rheumatologists. If you say we are seeing all the rheumatoid arthritis or lupus cases, they would suffer. So physician specialists are also being trained to recognize, treat, and refer complicated cases if they can't handle.
Okay.
Some would rather refer to the specialist. Ideally, would like to handle all lupus cases because they are a very sensitive group of patients.
Okay.
But looking at how things are, ideally that should be transferred on. So people know that once you have these symptoms lasting more than 6 weeks, we have what we call a diagnostic criteria.
Okay.
That's medically we know how to put those pieces together. Plus certain lab investigations, as you asked about, that we use to diagnose or look at the suspicious things that these, okay, we have an antibody that says that this is lupus.
Okay.
or this is an autoimmune condition. If it's positive, then you go ahead and do the more specific test.
Right.
Plus any other test that would pinpoint to the organ that is being affected. So if it's the brain, you may do the MRI scans. If it's the kidneys, you may do your kidney test, your kidney function test, and so on, or your urine for proteins and so on.
Okay.
So that depends on what is going on.
Right. 30 minutes past the hour of 2 on Joy 99.7 FM. If you've just joined us, we're talking about lupus. 10th May was the World Lupus Day, and we're going over the issues, trying to raise awareness and make lupus visible. I have a very, 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 very beautiful, confident, I don't know, I still don't believe she has any problem. But you heard Mami Ifwa, Is that right?
How did you know I'm Ifwa? Yeah, I am.
Oh, I do my reading before you come. I know a few other things as well. So, Mami Ifwa, you heard speaking, Chirewa Ofosu Mensah, she's living with the condition. She's a warrior. Right, she's fighting not just the condition, but the misinformation and disinformation and all that. Next to her is Dr. Kobna Esilfikwe. He's a medical officer with the Bank Hospital here in Accra, or some would like to say cantonments. He's also here, and then you just heard speaking Jifa. Dr. Esilfikwe, let me ask, how common is this? What is the prevalence? Or Jifa, you want to take that? In our parts of the world, I know it's difficult to pin down, but we should have some numbers. In Ghana, for example, or maybe the sub-region, or even globally, how common is lupus?
Over the world, it's difficult to have prevalence data coming from the community.
Okay.
It depends, again, on the age group that you're looking at. It depends on the region that you're looking at. We know people from African descent tend to have higher rates than those who are from Caucasian places. We know that in the age group between 18 and before menopause, there's a higher incidence there.
Right.
So at the extremes of age, the incidence is lower. In Africa, we have hardly any prevalence data that is available. But we have a hospital-based survey that showed about 5% of inpatient admissions were lupus cases that we did a while ago.
Right.
But we don't have prevalent data from the community.
Okay.
Worldwide, up to 10 to 20 per 100,000 cases may have lupus or so on.
Okay.
But generally, across board, we know that the prevalence of autoimmune conditions are increasing. But how to pin that data to the community is a bit difficult to do.
Let me come back to you, the clinicians. In Mami's case, I'm assuming you're aware of Mami's profile and her history. Is it that there was family history? Is it what caused hers, or what is responsible for hers, or do we not know?
We don't know. So as Kobe alluded to earlier, you have to have a genetic predisposition for your immune system to be overactive.
Okay.
That necessarily is not a bad thing, because that same immune genetic composition is what gives you certain positive attributes or protects you from certain diseases.
Okay.
But that makes your immune system hyperactive. But it needs a trigger, something from the environment to come and trigger it for it to start overworking. And then that sets off the immune system. And as the immune system has been designed, it has to protect you from whatever it thinks is foreign. So whatever it targets, it would attack it until it destroys it. So once it thinks certain parts of the body is foreign, it goes on to start to attack it. That trigger could be anything from stress. So we know stressful lifestyles seem to be causing this to increase. We know estrogen, as was mentioned earlier. Dr. Beta sent me an interesting paper recently showing that there were high levels of estrogen
in the US.
Beta in the US.
She sent me Beta. I know you're probably listening. She sent me a whole number of audiovisual inputs. Lupus in Ghana and other languages.
She's been fantastic trying to help us raise awareness.
Right.
So, estrogen is found in some hair products. But we know estrogen in general or estrogen containing products tend to make lupus worse or can trigger it off.
Okay.
So that is why it is common between childbearing age, because obviously estrogen is what makes women, and so that is why we get it.
I hear it's 10 times more prevalent in women.
So 9, if you take any group of lupus patients, 9 out of 10 will be women.
Wow.
It's quite rare to find it in men.
Okay.
So more of women, obviously, and then the hormone estrogen is what may drive it. Yeah.
All right. 34 minutes past the hour of 2 on Joy 99.7 FM. We're talking about lupus, and we're trying to educate ourselves, inform ourselves, and indeed transform what we do with regards to and in response to lupus. If you have any questions, concerns, WhatsApp is 055 11 11 997. Shortly, in fact, let me activate the phone lines 030-221-6541. You can ask your questions. I'm still looking and wondering, well, okay, 23-year-old girl, chick, diva, finishes university. She's working. Thankfully, she's got a job. She's not an unemployed graduate. Then, bam, she starts getting unwell. She says it started from her putting on weight or gaining weight, right? And then, of course, certain skin or facial rashes and so on and so forth that will leave a scar or a mark. I read about the butterfly. Is it rash or butterfly? What's it called?
Yeah, the butterfly rash.
Rash and many other things, right? And I'm seeing a couple of things on WhatsApp. Let me read them before I come back to my next set of questions. Good afternoon, Nortey. Happy Mother's Day to all women in the world. Welcome to my home. Oye in Afienya. Oye always welcomes me virtually. The day I get there. All right. This is from Dede in Maryland. She says, my friend at work had a rash on her face and turned into patches. Suspected it was lupus. Lupus test was done, but it was negative. A bit of skin was taken from her face for testing, and the pathologist suspected it was lupus, so she had to go for further testing. Waiting for the results, she kind of had a mini stroke, but it was determined it wasn't lupus. It's scary if she narrates her ordeal. Okay, you're right, it wasn't. I think you're saying it wasn't lupus, or it wasn't a stroke. I don't know which. This is from Dede in Maryland. So it started with a rash on her face. They tested, it was negative.
That's some of the dilemmas that can occur. So some people can have a discoid lupus where it's limited to the skin.
Okay.
So the biopsy may show that it is discoid lupus, but they don't have the systemic type. So we have various type of lupus. We have the systemic type where it affects various organs. We have the discoid or the skin type where it's limited to the skin.
Right.
About 5 to 10% of those may transform later into systemic lupus. You have the neonatal lupus where children born to mothers that have certain antibodies can show symptoms or signs that they have lupus in the first 6 weeks of life.
Right.
But afterwards, the antibodies disappear and they are back to normal.
Okay.
And then we have what we call drug-induced lupus as well. Well, certain drugs can also give you manifestations of what systemic lupus has. But usually when you withdraw the offending drug, those symptoms may disappear.
Okay.
So some of them may be the reasons why. So maybe it's purely discoid lupus. But with the advent of a stroke, definitely if it's a young person, they may need to do further.
Right.
So there are other antibodies that they need to do. Sometimes you have to do biopsies of other places and so on. And we don't have the full history, so it's difficult to say why they still think it's not lupus or so on.
All right. Okay. Great. Okay. Let me start to understand this. Mommy mentioned hair loss, and that's all skin, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hair and skin, right? Same. So I'm still looking at you. Beautiful head of hair and everything. I hope you guys are online. You can see her, so that we're not creating any caricature. It can be anything, but it is quite debilitating, and it handicaps a lot of people. That's why we need to understand it. That's why I'm coming to you, Mami. Share for my listeners' benefit. How has this affected, or how does this affect your life? You know, I'm going somewhere, but generally you would want to work. You probably be in a relationship. You probably have plans and so on. How has this discovery and its conclusive diagnosis affected your life? Okay, I don't see anything on your face, but you share.
Okay, so with mine, it's not just the skin, but also I do from time to time get joint pains. There'll be swelling in my hands, my wrist. So as you can see.
Oh, okay. So your hand is disfigured, or can I say disfigured? Or disjointed, this
So
something.
the joints are displaced.
Right. Can you hold it up again? Right. That is your right hand.
Yes.
Are you able to use it? Are you right-handed?
Yes. So now I'm trying to be left-handed. So I have started using my left to right.
Are you able to, digitally manipulate the fingers?
Not Okay, earlier no, but now it's better because I'm doing physio, so that's what's helping.
All right.
And at a point, I couldn't even. I have kids.
Yeah.
Yes, and my last born, when I gave birth to him, he's just a year old.
Wow.
I couldn't even pick him. I couldn't change diaper. I couldn't do a whole lot for him. There are times I can't even go to the kitchen.
Wow.
Yes, because I can't hold anything.
So this that has happened, what you're showing us, the disfigurement, let me call it that, or the distortion in digits of your right hand. Is it something that reverses from time to time, or is it stuck like that?
No, it started. Okay, so in my case, I do not just have lupus. I have rheumatoid arthritis as well.
Whoa.
Yes, I was diagnosed with lupus and then later was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis.
You are truly a warrior. I'm just looking at you talking about this like, whoa. Okay.
It hasn't been an
So
easy journey.
you're juggling many things, many specialists, many treatments and medications.
Yes.
How many kids do you have?
3.
3. The last one is barely a year.
1.
Ah.
He just turned 1.
So lupus hasn't prevented you from being busy. How
Oh, there are times it prevents you from being busy, but
Right.
I want to have kids.
When
so.
you discovered this around, you mentioned 2015 or the age of 23, you were not married then? Or?
No, please.
Okay. It didn't get in the way of your relationship and its progression to marriage?
No, it didn't because
Wow.
he knew me before I
You should
had
have invited
lupus.
your husband. Wow. Yes, continue.
He knew me before I got married, and he had always been there to support. So he knew all about this. He had read about it and was prepared. Yes.
How does he prepare? I mean,
He has to prepare himself
okay.
mentally.
Right.
Yes.
Because there's more ahead,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Jifa and Kobna,
Yes.
right? She's living with it. And one of the questions I was going to bring to you, let me bring it to Kobna. So I'm hoping you're going to say this is curable. You know, when we bring the issues and we do discussions on them, the listeners are waiting to hear. Is there a cure? Is it curable?
All right. So unfortunately, lupus is not curable as at 2023, but then it's manageable, and that's one of the reasons why we are doing all of this awareness, because we are trying to promote early diagnosis and then early treatment,
Right.
initiate early treatment. Because
Okay.
once you're able to do that, you're able to slow down the progression of the disease
Right.
and prevent complications from happening, and then also improve the quality of life, reduce morbidity. And so it's like any other chronic condition, like hypertension, like diabetes. They are not curable, but then with all the advancements in technology, they are treatable, the condition is manageable, and just like our sweet sister here, you can live a very healthy life once you're compliant with your treatment, your medications, your follow-up in the hospital, and you follow the doctor's orders. It is manageable.
Okay. Right. 055-11-11-997. Dede is asking if stress can cause lupus. Dr. Jifade mentioned that earlier, and you're quite right, spot on. Yes, you can have stress as a trigger. Okay, I think trigger is better than saying cause. Or
Trigger is.
Trigger. Okay. Phone line 030-221-6541. We're talking about lupus. We want to make it visible. Let's spot it. Okay. Wow, this is a lot. Let me see if I can read it. Good afternoon, Nortey. I need your assistance. About 2 to 3 months ago, there was an interview on diabetes with a female doctor, on Joy FM. Unfortunately, I couldn't remember the daytime. So the person probably wants a contact from us. Okay. We'll see what we can do. That's why I have Abeku. Right. Okay. So management. Okay. Did we conclusively tie up diagnosis? Right. You have to do the tests. The doctor, the specialist is looking out for certain markers and certain things which, should I say, can be associated.
Good with it.
Right.
So we have the tests, the serological tests, but first of all, the symptoms that point to certain organs being affected and the constitutional symptoms that I mentioned earlier.
Right.
So if that ties in with what the doctor suspects, then we order the investigations to look at those antibodies that would then specifically diagnose the condition. in addition to other tests that point to other organs that may be affected, such as the heart, the kidney, the brain. Sometimes we biopsy organs such as the skin or the kidneys and so on.
Right.
And then we make a diagnosis based on that.
Okay.
But it is based on both the physical signs, the symptoms the patient has, plus the investigation.
And you wouldn't be able to say, for example, since it is yours is systemic,
Yes.
right? SLE, right? There will still be a different manifestation or presentation
from the this
for
one.
individuals.
Yes, so that's why we don't just look at people who have just a skin and say that, oh, you have lupus.
Okay.
It could be just skin involvement.
Right.
And we say lupus is like a syndrome, or it's a spectrum.
Spectrum of
There are people
things.
who have very mild disease, and there are people who come with aggressive disease right from the beginning.
Right.
Kidneys are involved, brain is involved. Some people will remain with skin involvement their whole life. Some
Right.
people joint involvement their whole life. So that's why I'm always very keen to tell patients that I can see 2 lupus patients or 10 lupus patients in a day, and they are all different.
Okay.
Their antibodies are different, their disease manifestation is different.
Mm-hmm.
And so don't look at one person and say, this is how this person is managing her condition, so
Okay.
I'll do the same.
All right.
Or this person is taking this treatment, and so this is what pertains to me. Lupus is one of the diseases where you really individualize the treatment to the person to make sure it fits whatever manifestations or labs even that
Right.
they have.
Okay. All right. So, hey, my WhatsApp is open. I saw somebody type and delete. You know, my discerning listeners, they know I'll read it out. So I'm waiting for that. But the phone line is active, 030-221-6541. If you have any questions, concerns, experiences to share about lupus, you're welcome on Ultimate Health, Joy 99.7 FM. My name is Nortey by nature. I'm in the studio with Dr. Jifa Day. Mami Efwa Trewa Ofosu Mensa, mother of 3, and a lupus warrior, and then Kobna Esilfi Kwe. He's a medical officer with the Bank Hospital. They'll be taking your questions, and I'll be guiding the discussion. So let's come back to this. So treatment. Obviously, you've been told and educated, counseled that this is not curable, and therefore you have to live with it. So what kind of treatment is there? Can you bring bring calm to the immune system?
Yes.
What is it you're doing
So
for people?
we say the immune system is overworking. Okay, it is fighting against itself.
Mm-hmm.
So here we are trying to calm the immune system down. The immune system is not suppressed like in HIV and so on, which
Right.
is where people confuse it as well. So we want to calm that fire down by using drugs that we call immunosuppressants to
Okay.
suppress the immune system.
Right.
We have to have a fine balancing act so that we don't over-suppress it,
Okay.
so that you are not also prone to infections and so
It's
on.
kind of akin to me putting my car alarm on mute. It's making too much noise, and it's
And you are not
too,
protected from.
too sensitive.
Exactly.
No thief.
So you have to balance it very finely.
You have to balance it so
Otherwise,
that
you would
there's still an alarm.
exactly.
There's still an immune system.
Yes.
Okay.
So there are various drugs that we use for that. One of them is steroids. Okay, so that's like one of the basic things we do. And then we have certain targeted immunosuppressive drugs that target certain manifestations of the disease. So as I was mentioning earlier, these drugs are selected based on which organ is manifesting the symptoms in the body. So you
Okay.
can't use one drug for everything.
Okay.
Some are tailored according to.
So if it's affecting my kidney, you know what you're
Yes,
doing.
so those ones we consider them. Usually, we as doctors would divide it into mild, moderate, and severe lupus.
Okay.
So we have severe lupus when it's affecting the brain, the kidney, the blood vessels. Okay. So those ones we really hit it with good force. So IV steroids, strong doses of these immunosuppressive drugs. If it's moderate, we have a regimen that we use. We use a drug called hydroxychloroquine for our patients because we know that modulates the immune system as well. Then we have newer drugs that are being developed. We call them the biologics. So they target the immune system specifically at certain areas where we now understand the disease better. That these areas are where the immune system dysfunction occurs.
Okay.
Unfortunately, unlike other autoimmune diseases like rheumatoid, which we manage, lupus has not had a new drug being developed over the past 50 years. We've had only one, because all the biologics somehow do not make the mark when it finally gets to doing clinical trials. And so that is also one of the challenges, because this disease is so varied and so different, and how to make sure that you treat the patient and do not harm the patient just because you are doing a clinical trial has been one of the challenges.
Okay.
And so we encourage our patients as well to participate when we have clinical trials, especially in our part of the world where we don't have these trials coming. And so we don't know even how our patients respond to these medications.
Right.
So that we also have drugs that can give this cure that we are all looking out for.
Okay. And we had a particular or peculiar challenge during COVID when they were harvesting our medicine, and they thought that, hey, this is the thing for COVID, and so whether you guys with lupus and other things need it, we're shifting it here, right? So that is very challenging.
It is.
And let me ask Dr. Silfikwe, I mean, I hear people, and I'll come back to Mami to ask, even though we're trying to balance out the immune response, many patients share experiences which show that some of the medications have side effects which are very, very difficult and intolerable, if I can use that word. I mean, how do you balance these things? People are taking medications, the medications are helping them but hurting them. Oh, Mami, let me come to you. A friend of mine will say, the way you are looking at me in that tone of voice, how do you balance? The thing is helping you. You need it. You are in crisis. You'll be taken to hospital, and you have to take this medication. Share with us quickly. How do you do this?
It's not easy.
I like the way you say it. Simple and short.
It's not easy.
It's not.
There are times you be staring at the medications, and then you ask yourself, should I take it or I shouldn't take it? But you have to, because when you look at yourself, if you don't take it at that time too, it will be worse. So definitely you have to take it. Yes, it's true, some of the medications have side effects, but you always have to weigh.
And they're expensive.
Very, very. And
that's
people,
a side effect. On your wallet.
Most people can't also afford, and
problem.
that's the major reason why we are creating this awareness.
Right.
Because honestly speaking, our national health insurance does not cover our drugs.
Right.
Yes.
So you're a rich woman.
Oh, for me, I would say.
Essentially, I'm asking you to share how you're coping.
Yes. For me, I would say I'm blessed to have my senior brother.
Okay.
Who's not here, but always supplying me with medications.
Okay.
From outside.
Right.
Yes. So I am able to get most of my...
You're spending a lot on medications.
Yes.
Even with his support.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So as a warrior, I mean, we're fast running out of time, but I mean, those who don't have support, when you say we have a lot of support group, there's TRI and the many things, what are we doing or how can we help people listening to us? Somebody says, kindly thank Dr. Day and her team for me. They've been very helpful to my own self and I am eternally grateful to God for their lives. This is Yao Caleb, right? Probably a patient or a client of yours. This one says, hello Nortey, good afternoon to you and your guest. My mom has SLE and I can honestly attest to how it's sometimes draining. She was sent off from 2 workplaces because of the rashes and swellings. It's not easy as a patient and it's not easy having to take care of someone with it. Honestly, the medications too are another story. Buying medications, and I'm also a university student, so it gets hard sometimes, but in God we trust. You didn't send your name, but thanks for sharing that. Honorable Alfred Nortey Dua, just passing by. Shout out to my mother, Bertha Amoako Vida Jemfa, all mothers of Joy FM, and your mother as well, Douglas from DC. Thank you, Douglas. Okay, right. I think I've read all of that. So yeah, it's a challenge. Is there an association? Is there a fund?
So yes. One of the things we've been trying to do is campaigning to get these drugs on the National Health Insurance Scheme. So if anybody's listening from there, we really, really want our drugs to be on the National Health Insurance.
Picketing is in vogue.
I think we may have to get to that because they promise, and then by the time you realize even common prednisolone you cannot get your National Health Insurance, which is really depression. Right. So we also try, as we have an organization called the Rheumatology Initiative, we try to help some of these patients, especially lupus. As we say, those who have severe lupus may come in a crisis, and just time can make such a difference in life and death, or an organ being permanently damaged. And they come and you don't have medicines to just treat that emergency. So what we do is try to raise funds by ourselves to be able to help them during that emergency situation, where 2,000 cedis can make the difference between this person ending up on dialysis for the rest of her life in the next 6 weeks or so, if not treated properly. So we cannot watch and look at that happening. So we raise funds and then at least help in that emergency, and then they can then mobilize themselves and then continue the therapy.
Listening to us and wants to connect with Try or a support group, is there a number that
Okay, so they can contact 054 408 9065 if they want any information on that.
054 408 9065.
And then we are on all social media platforms, the Rheumatology Initiative, or at Try Ghana, TRI Ghana. On Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can contact us there if you want any further information, to be linked to a support group, to donate or to volunteer to help the work that we do. Would definitely be grateful.
Great stuff. Right. I've left it out, but I must ask, and I know my listeners want me to ask. I mean, we're talking about progressive organ damage. Right. So lupus can kill you.
Lupus can kill you. That is the story most people hear. The moment you say lupus, people say, oh, I know someone who died. We did an audit where 48.9% of our patients who were admitted about 10 years ago on the medical block died because of lupus. From misdiagnosis to delayed treatment to not being able to afford medications. And so that is what we are trying to reverse. In other places, this is coming down. And if we diagnose early, we know that in the past, the chances of surviving 10 years for lupus was very low. But currently, if you diagnose early, before the disease damages any organ, your chances of living a normal life is up to your 95%. So that is what we want to aim for, to try and make sure that people are diagnosed early before the disease damages any organ with proper treatment. We shouldn't forget the other supporting things: psychological education, physiotherapy, diet and lifestyle changes. People always ask about diet. For me, diet supports the treatment that they do. You cannot treat someone who has nephritis with diet. You can do that with skin if you want, but you cannot go on promoting that diet alone can treat someone who has severe lupus, has kidney, brain involvement, and so on. But definitely it supports the treatments that we do, and all these are incorporated to give a holistic management of the patients.
Kobna, if I walk into the bank hospital, is there a specialized clinic day? Is there a specialized unit for lupus, or I just do the same stuff?
So at the bank hospital, we have specialists that cover every single specialty in medicine, from rheumatologist to a kidney specialist, a heart doctor, to a gastroenterologist, to a neurosurgeon. So definitely anybody who suspects that he or she has lupus and is looking for care can walk into the bank hospital and receive the best care from a qualified specialist.
What's the spread of care or specialists, even though you said the physician specialists can handle this, across the country? I mean, we're sitting in Accra, Joy FM. We're feeling pretty cozy and cool. But if I'm in Jasikai or somewhere, I'm sorry, no. I mean, what's the spread? Or do people literally have to embark on a pilgrimage to Accra?
Unfortunately, it used to be so. I mean, lupus is managed by the rheumatologists. They are the specialists but it's a multidisciplinary care, depending on which organ is involved as well. Sometimes we invite the other specialists that Kobe mentioned earlier as part of it. Unfortunately, currently we have only 3 rheumatologists in the whole country for this population of 29 million and above. 2 in Kolebu Teaching Hospital, and 1 in Konfanoche. We have 2 residents in training currently at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Hopefully, so then that means one of them would go to Cape Coast soon. So that is the spread currently, but they haven't finished yet. And so, yes, unfortunately, we have patients coming in
here, right?
Yes, the training is at Kolebu. So everybody, even the doctors, have to come to Kolebu. Yes, under the college. Have to come to Kolebu to get trained to care for patients. So unfortunately, everybody has to trek to Accra somehow to get this treatment. And so we are doing ways in which we can decentralize some of these, at least getting disease reckoning.
Go to something for 2 years. I'll tell Kafi.
How do we train the doctors?
I'll tell Kafi that you're on location.
Well, we are talking to the Minister of Health, Ghana Health Service, trying to find ways of spreading the care. One of the initiatives that we are doing as TRI is actually training general practitioners and physician specialists who have qualified in the districts. We do like 1 week courses in rheumatology.
Right.
So we've done that with the Royal College and other initiatives that we've done under TRI, where we teach these doctors about autoimmune rheumatic conditions so that they can recognize and start some treatments.
Right.
And open the channels. One of the things we are going to do this year is also design something where we can communicate so that when they have problems, they can communicate with us in Accra, send pictures, talk to us, so that at least, even though we are not enough, we are able to guide the direction. Because you can't send...
Are you on board the e-medicine stuff? TRI. Are you on board?
We are very much on board.
Right, okay.
Very much on board.
We were doing that last week.
Very much
interesting stuff. We've run out of time, but Mami, let me come to you. But just quickly, Jifa, there's something I'm managing, or someone I'm managing, and she has mast cell activation syndrome. Is it in your territory?
That is more like hypersensitivity type of thing. It's under a different part of the immune system. So sometimes people say, I have allergies. Is this the same as lupus? No. That is more like the immune system being hypersensitive.
Yeah.
Okay, but not overreactive. So small nuances. Even though somehow I'm finding that in a lot of my lupus patients, they seem to have multiple allergies and some things that they talk about. Yes.
Okay, last word to the queen herself, Manya One, Mama Gam. What would you say to people living with this condition, or people living with those living with the condition, as a warrior?
Okay. What I'll say to patients with lupus is they should keep fighting. There's hope.
There's hope.
There's hope. I have come from far away and I've reached here. So I believe there's hope. But what they need to know is that they need to be positive. It helps. Get people to talk to. It helps.
Support groups.
Do not keep it within, because when you keep it within, you go through a whole lot. Yes.
Join a support group. Talk to people.
Yes.
Have hope.
Yes.
Be positive.
Be positive. That is very, 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 very important.
That is not unskilled labor. That's skilled labor. You need to build the capacity to do what you're saying. You make it sound so simple.
It's not. It's not.
Right.
But once you take that decision, make that decision to start that journey, believing that fine, you do have lupus, but you have a hold of it, and you can manage it.
All right.
I always say, live life like there's no other day. Enjoy it. Make yourself happy.
All right.
And you'll be fine.
Okay. From here, I'll follow you. And so now we go and enjoy. But I'm just blown away. I do a lot of advocacy. I've been doing it for too long, right? But each time I meet somebody, talk about their condition, they've learnt about it, and I felt that kind of information and knowledge would frighten them, right? But rather, it transforms them into a tool, a resource that we can all benefit from. So I'm so grateful that you made it. I've been monitoring some of your other public events on this. Kobna, thank you so much for joining us. You wanted to say something quickly?
Yes, as part of the Lupus Awareness Month, we are wearing purple. So as you can see, I'm in my purple shirt. Dr. Day is in purple, Mami is in purple. So we want to encourage all our listeners to also, join us, wear purple to work. It can be a purple tie, purple ribbon.
Okay, wear purple, right?
Yeah.
And you can see they are in purple.
Yes.
Jifa has a way of doing, show-stopping purple. When you see hairs, then you go and talk to your tailor or your seamstress. But purple is the color.
Yes.
Right.
And then also we are engaging on social media campaigns. So, on your WhatsApp status, you can put up something, a fact about lupus.
All right.
on Twitter, on Instagram. You can put pictures, people wearing purple. Just share something about lupus. Let's make lupus visible.
All right.
This year.
Okay. Paint it purple. That's what they're saying. This one's from, I don't know who it's from, but it says you need advice. AVISE capital, right? It seems to be a checklist online. I just found this on the net. I lost a niece who had lupus. She had to be on kidney dialysis, which drained my cash. At the end, she died so young, all right? So he's sent something, AVISE. I think it's an online kind of checklist. You could try it out. But definitely, if it's a positive screening, then you need to proceed to a facility and start seeing those who have the knowledge and the skills, right? Many thanks. 5 minutes overtime. I apologize. I bet who will kill me. You want to say something? Oh, mommy.
If not, they'll kill me.
All right.
No, say please. I want to take this opportunity to wish my mother.
Mothers don't kill.
My mother, Madame Rejoice Ajo Sambo. Yes, I just want to say happy Mother's Day to you. God bless you. She's really, really been my support system.
Wow.
Yes, she's been there
Rejoice
for me.
Ajo Sambo.
Yes.
Right.
And so thank you so much.
If you hadn't done that, she would have killed you. Literally. Right. I'm glad you did that.
So thank you, Mom. I love you.
Thank you to the three of you, and many thanks to Abeku Sanko for giving me a couple of minutes over time. Stick and stay on Joy 99.7 FM. This has been Ultimate Health, your ultimate guide to healthy living with me, Nortey by Nature, produced by Abeku Sankofi. Don't go anywhere.